Hello everyone, welcome to our Quiz Time YouTube channel. Today, in this video, we're gonna be solving this particular trigonometric question. Now, whenever you see those kind of big numbers like 45 pi, 453 pi, 105 pi over 4, and 79 pi over 3, when you see those kind of numbers, you might ask, how am I gonna solve this? This is hard because the numbers or the angles look very big, right? So today in this video, I'm gonna show you one simple trick on how to determine those angles very easily. Now, if you follow up really closely, you will understand how to do trick questions very easily. Now, from using all the knowledges we have, pi simply means 180 degrees. Now, we all know that pi is equal to 180 degrees. And 2 pi, obviously, it's a multiple of this. 180 multiplied by 2 is going to be 360 degrees, right? So now 180 degrees show that something is a straight line, right? It's a measure of a degree starting from this point right here up until this point right here. This is 180 degree, right? And 360 degree, as we all know, represents a circle. Let's just say we have this point right here, and starting from this point, if I go all the way around and then get back to the point where I started, then this shows that I have traveled 360 degrees, right? So 360 degree represents a circle. Now, having this in mind, now what we don't have to forget never is those two concepts, right? Now, with this in mind, let's go ahead and draw a graph, a simple XY graph. Now I'm gonna draw a rough graph of an XY plane. This is just a rough sketch to help you understand what this is all about, right? And so let's just say that this point is 1, because this is the y-axis, right? And this is going to be the x-axis. And so this is going to be 1 because it's in the first quadrant, and since it's on the upper side from the origin, it's going to be positive on the y-axis. This point is going to be -1 because from the origin to the left, it's always negative for the x-axis. And so on the bottom one, I have -1 of the y value, and here on the right side, I have 1 for the x value, right? Now, using all these 4 points, let me draw a circle connecting those 4 points. I'm gonna get a simple circle, right? So this is rough. Don't focus on the sketch, and just focus on the concept, right? Okay, so this represents simply a sine and a cos function. It can be easily understood from this graph. Now, y, as we all know, is related with the sine function, with the sine theta, and x is related with cos theta, right? So x means x is equal to cos theta, and y is equal to sine theta. So this is always true, so we never have to forget those two equations, x equal to cos theta and y equals sine theta, right? Now, with this in mind, when we draw a circle, we always start from this point right here, from the positive x-axis, or the number 1 right here. We start from here and we go all the way around 360 degrees, right? Right. So starting from this point up until the point where it is 1 here, it takes 90 degrees, right? Because it's a right angle triangle right here, right? And if I go all the way around and then end up at this point, then that means it's a straight line, right? So that represents 180 degrees, right? Another 90 degrees added right here, right? So this is going to be 180 degree. If I just keep going and then starting from this point, if I end up here, then I went 270 degrees, right? Because as I said, on 180 degree, I'm just gonna go ahead and add 90 degrees, right? And then when I go from this point to this point, I'm gonna complete one circle or go a total of 360 degrees, right? So this is all about this. Right, so what we have to keep in mind is that 360 degree is the point right here. And this point is also the point that we started drawing this graph or this circle, right? So when we started to draw the circle, this point was just a point, was just a 0 degree. There was no angle. It was just a simple point, right? But when we go all the way around and draw a circle, now this point can either be 360 degree or it can still be 0 degrees, right? So now if we substitute 360 degree and a 0 degree in a sine or a cosine function, the value is the same. That means sine 0 degrees is equal to sine 360 degrees, right? Why? Because on the graph, if I add 360 degree to any point on this circle, I'll end up at that exact same place, right? I'll end up at that same place. So this point, the point that I called 0 degree, can also be 360 degree, right? So these are always equal. These are always equal. If there is any degree that I saw, and if I added 360 degree on it, I will end up at the same place on the circle from this graph, right? Now this is the big trick to answering all those big number having trig questions, alright? If we know that, we can work with any kind of problems, right? So now clearing up some space, let's start working with our problem. Now the first question starts by saying that what is sine 45 equal to, right? Sine 45 pi. What is it equal to? So we have to answer this. Now to answer this, we'll go down here and sine 45 pi, right? After we wrote this, what did I just tell you? If 1 pi is 180 degrees, we already know that, and 2 pi is, what did I say? It's 360 degrees, right? So that means from 45 pi, if I subtracted 2 pi, which is 360 degrees, then that will be the same, right? So sine 45 pi is equal to sine 43 pi, right? Because 45 minus 2 is equal to 43 pi, right? So since I said sine 45 pi is equal to sine 43 pi, I'm just gonna go ahead and subtract a lot of 2 pi's from this 45 pi. That means easily I'm gonna subtract a multiple of 2, a number that is a multiple of 2, and that it is close to 45 pi, right? So what is a number that is a multiple of 2 and close to 45 pi? It's easily 44 pi, right? So 44 is a multiple of 2 and is close to 45 pi. Now if I easily subtracted 44 pi from 45 pi, I'll end up with pi. So in other words, what am I saying? Sine 45 pi is equal to sine pi, right? Sine 45 pi is equal to sine pi, right? Sine pi. Right. After I say this, now sine pi, from the graph that I just drawn and showed you, what does sine pi mean, right? Sine pi means, since I told you sine is concerned with the, or related with the y function, with the y-axis right here, starting from this 0 degrees, from this point, if I go 180 degrees, I'll end up at this point right here. And when I see this point right here on the graph, this point shows that the y function or the y-axis is 0, right? Is 0. So this point right here is -1, 0, right? Negative 1 comma 0, this point right here. So this tells me that the x value, or cos pi, is negative 1, but sine pi is 0, right? So this means sine 45 pi is also equal to sine pi, and that it's also equal to 0, right? So now we have found our first answer for sine 45 pi. Sine 45 pi is equal to 0. Right, now 0 plus, let's go ahead and do cos 453 pi. Alright, now when we work with cos 453 pi, it's going to be the exact same concept, right? What did I just say? Cos 453 pi, right? To be exact, that's the question that we are asking. Cos 453 pi. Right, moving on, I'm gonna go ahead and subtract a multiple of 2 that is close, a number that is multiple of 2 that is close to 453 pi. What is that number? You guessed it right, 452. Right, so 453 pi minus 452 pi is going to be equal to, again, pi, right? Pi. So this part means that cos 453 means that cos pi, in other words, the same as the sine function, cos pi, right? Now cos pi means when I check my graph starting from the 0 degree, when I go up until pi to this point right here, my cos function tells me that, or the x-axis is negative 1 right here. So cos pi is also equal to negative 1, right? So now I found the second answer, that cos pi is negative 1, right? Moving on, minus cosecant of 105 pi over 4, right? Let's go ahead and do this. Y'all memorized this part, hopefully, that 2 pi and pi equal to 180 and 360 degrees. Alright, now, when we check the question again here, it says 105 pi over 4, cosecant. Alright, so let's write it down. Cosecant of 105 over 4 pi, right? Now, when we see those kind of numbers, we can easily go ahead and do their calculation, right? We can just go ahead and substitute 105 over 4 in our calculator. Now, when we substitute 105 over 4 in our calculator, we easily find that the value is 26.25 pi, right? So this is equal to cosecant of 26.25 pi, right? So now I have 26.25 as my degree, right? So what is a number that is a multiple of 2 and close to 26.25 is, you guessed it right, it's 26 pi, right? So subtracting 26 from 26.25, I get 0.25 pi, right? Now 0.25 means 25 over 100 pi, and when we simplify this equation, we get pi over 4, or in other words, 1 over 4 pi, the same thing, right? So this part, cosecant of 105 over 4 pi, is also equal to cosecant of pi over 4, right? Now we know that cosecant means 1 over sine theta, right? So 1 over sine, instead of theta, we're going to substitute the value, which is pi over 4, right? So pi over 4, when we substitute it in our calculator, we'll find that pi over 4 is equal to root 2 over 2, or 0.7, right? So we'll find that this part is root 2 over 2. So the reciprocal of root 2 over 2 is going to be 2 over root 2. Now when we substitute this in our calculator, we find that it's equal to 1.41, right? So we'll go ahead and substitute the next value, which is 1.41. Alright, Now we're almost done. We have 79 pi over 3. We'll do the same thing again. Alright, so let's clear up some space here. Or we'll do it down there. Now the question is 79 pi over 3 of secant. Alright, here secant of 79 pi over 3. Right, so what did I just say? The easiest trick here is that I'm just gonna go ahead and substitute 79 over 3 in my calculator. Now if I do that, I'm gonna go ahead and get the answer, which is 26.333 pi. Right, so again, a multiple of 2, a number that is a multiple of 2 and close to 26.33 is 26. Right, so 26.33 pi minus 26 is going to be equal to 0.333 pi. Now 0.333, when it is simplified, it just means that 333 over 1000 pi. Now by 333, when we simplify this, we approximately get pi over 3. Right, so secant of 79 pi over 3 is also equal to secant of pi over 3. Right, so what does secant mean? Secant is 1 over cos theta, and the theta, the value is here, pi over 3. Now pi over 3, when we substitute 180 degree divided by 3 means 60 degree, and that equals 1 over 2 for cos. So this is also equal to 1 over 2. So this also equals to 2. So we have found the answer for the last one, which is 2. Now simply what we have to do is just substitute the values into our calculator and then find the answer. Alright, now let me finish it up for you guys. Let me clean up some space here. So this will equal to, when we substitute it in our calculator, we simply find that it is equal to -1 minus 1.4 plus 2 is equal to -0.4 is going to be our final answer. I hope you enjoyed this video and learned a lot about trigonometric questions. So until I see you in the next video, have a great time. Bye.